Let's talk a little CONCACAF North America, our biggest competition for clubs. It is the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And the quarterfinal leg 2 finished. Here are some results. Can't wait to get your guys' thoughts on this. We'll start with the non-MLS matchup as Pachuca beat Herediano.
Look at the aggregate.
Herediano, yeah. Yeah, 7-1 aggregate. Pachuca won 2-1 in leg 2 in Mexico, but 7-1 aggregate. So Pachuca goes on. Then we have Club America finishing off New England Revolution. I know Chuck's wearing the jersey, but another tough night for his club. Yeah. Aggregate 9-2 in favor of Club America. Zendejas scores another goal in that one. Shout out to Alex Zendejas. And then Tigres go up early. Patrick Schulte makes a mistake trying to dribble out of the back or trying to dribble out of a situation. Andre Pierre Gignac steals it from him, and you think at that point Tigres is going to go on to win the game. Columbus fight back, and they get a 1-1 draw. Diego Rossi scores in the 60th minute. They end up winning in penalties. Patrick Schulte ultimately made a ton of saves, including a couple in penalties, so shout out to him for fighting through that adversity. And Columbus is the one MLS team that advances to the semifinal. And they're going to be taking on Monterrey, who won 3-1 over Inter Miami and Leo Messi and Luis Suarez, amongst others. Aggregate 5-2 in that one. Brandon Vasquez scores again. A goalkeeper mistake. Drake Callender made a mistake. Vasquez took advantage. That was the first goal of the game and really set the tone for how that one was going to go. Any big surprises here for you, Chuck? I'll come to you first as a New England Revolution supporter and voice of the team.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the Revs. They've performed poorly all season, so that's not a surprise at all to me. And they had played relatively poor opponents up until that point, so maybe they thought they were further ahead than they were. Realistically, in league play in MLS, they've been bad, and then this, I think, the performance at home where Club America beat them 4-0 was a signal of just how bad it was. Completely one-sided. And so that's not a shock to me. I think Columbus Crew taking down Tigres is massive in the way they did it, in the fashion they did it, because they had to do it in the second game on the road in Mexico. So for me, Wilfred Nancy just has Columbus playing in a particular way. I love the fact that he said, I told Schulte, you just keep going, play the same way. I don't want you to change the way that you play. He has full confidence in his players and his style. And so the Columbus Crew, I think, beating Tigres to get to the semifinal is massive.
Yeah, anything stand out for you, Jesse? And what are your thoughts on Wilfred Nancy? Because I love his quotes. Anytime I see a lot of his stuff or what he's saying, I just nod my head like, yep, I like that. I like that. And it's more about staying true to who they are and how they want to play. And if that means they're going to lose trying to play that way, he'd rather be that type of team and that type of coach than that one that's trying to drastically change things or styles based on the opponent.
Yeah, I think I referenced once before in this podcast that Wilfred Nancy was in the academy at Montreal when I was the coach at Montreal.
Yeah.
And when, the different times that I would speak to him or we would have interaction in Montreal, he always asked the right kinds of questions and wanted to learn more about what we were trying to achieve and then some of the things that he would think about and what did I think about that and would that fit with what we're doing. And, so I always knew that he was a serious football guy. I like that he has a distinct style of play. It's clear that when you see his teams play, what we always used to say in Red Bull is take away the jersey and watch the team. And is that a Red Bull team? Right. And I feel like when you watch Wilfred's teams play, if you took away the Columbus Crew, you would still see that this team played. This is a Wilfred Nancy team. So, and that coupled with, I think, who he is as a person and his leadership qualities tend toward him being a high potential coach. I mean, he's already won MLS Cup. Now he's achieving in CONCACAF Cup. So yeah, I mean, he's done a great job. And then, I'd say in general, I know from competing in this tournament, the timing of the tournament is difficult for MLS teams because you're just not in your top form. So you have to be incredibly precise with how you prepare, what your match plan is, and you have to account for the fact that going down to Mexico, often playing in heat and elevation and with rowdy crowds, right? Active, hateful crowds that you have to be incredibly focused on exactly what it's going to take for you to be successful. And if I'm not sure, but I think we were the first team to win when we beat Tijuana. I think that was in 2018 in a knockout phase. I think we were to beat a Mexico team. But then when we played Chivas in the semifinal, we made in the 2-game series, we outplayed them and made one mistake. Tyler Adams on an offensive attacking corner kick. And where I said we cannot lose any balls in the back because they will look to press us. They man mark. They will come after you. We made one mistake and Tyler lost the ball on an attacking corner kick trying to play a ball back to Luis Robles. And that goal cost us and we lost the series 1-0. But that's what the margin of error is a lot like against these teams. That same year, Toronto was behind and then ahead and played really well, got to the final and lost in, I think, extra in PK and penalties, in extra penalties, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that. But nonetheless, the games are difficult, the environments are difficult, and you have to be incredibly precise and sharp and good on the day to come out as the victor.
I got a lot of questions with regard to this, and Chuck, I want you to explore it first, but we talk about how we're not in midseason form when we play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Mexico is already kind of well-versed in who they are and what they're about, and they've kind of found their rhythm into a season where MLS teams are still early on in theirs or in preseason at times based on the scheduling. And then when Leagues Cup now comes around, Mexico's not really in season, and we're not even playing games in Mexico, so it definitely favors the American teams, or MLS teams, I should say. So how do we bridge that gap? Because I want to start playing where it's where we can start to exert our dominance in a way that's on equal footing. I'm not so sure, but I really value the games in Mexico because I think it puts, and even when I was playing in these competitions, you're just put under a different type of pressure than you are when you're playing in MLS or even playing Mexican teams at home. But when you go down to Mexico, it's different, Chuck. You know this, right? Even if you're playing for the national team as well, you have to block it out and you have to rely on each other and your teammates in a way that you might not feel that same type of pressure. And I just think that helps you grow as a team. And I'm so stoked that Columbus got through that and got a good result against one of the best teams in Mexico. But I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on it. I don't want to make any excuses for MLS, but when Mexican teams come and play in Leagues Cup, it's not fair to them in that competition either. And so it's
100%.
I'm a little torn.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'm with you. There's definitely a difference when you play on the road and you're tested and you lose possession and either you're chasing for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and you realize the value of possession, or like Jesse said, you're maybe playing better, but it's that one mistake that ends up costing you the match, right? And I think that's the type of pressure that allows players to grow, teams to grow, and gets Major League Soccer to be at a whole new level.
I actually think that moment helped Tyler Adams in his development because he realized the gravity of everything you do on the pitch. It matters. Everything, every decision, every action, you have to be precise with everything you do. And he learned the hard way, and we learned the hard way, right, as a team. But yeah, and you can't, it's even, we've talked a little bit about, I think it was on the show with Clint Dempsey, and he said, we're the U.S. right now is playing all the games at home. We're playing Copa America at home. We're playing the World Cup at home. Obviously, these are incredible advantages that we want to have. But to really grow as a team and as a player, you need to be put over your head and you need to be challenged in ways that you've never been challenged so that you understand, again, what the gravity, what every moment is like and how it matters and how you need to adjust the way you think, the way you play, how fast you think and how fast you play. Yeah, these things are incredibly important in players and people's development.
It's almost like, Jimmy, that in terms of the U.S. men's national team, from here on out, every match that they should play should be on foreign soil in a different place because you're playing at the comfort of home, right? For the World Cup, all the matches leading up to the World Cup. So put them in unfamiliar places. Make them as uncomfortable as it can be to strengthen the resilience, the quality of the opponents. So then when they come in the World Cup and you're on home soil, you really notice the difference.
Well, speaking of the World Cup, the Club World Cup is happening in the U.S. as well in 2025. Inter Miami, who obviously were trying to get into that competition, and I'm sure everybody else that's sponsoring that competition wants Leo Messi to be involved. They have now crashed out with their loss to Monterrey. So we have our Final Four. Pachuca will take on Club America. Columbus Crew will take on Monterrey. Those games, first leg of the semis, will kick off on April 30th, and they should be some good ones.